Till now, we were looking at the phenomenon of post-secularism from the global perspective, and I would like to propose to focus our attention today on the Polish Catholicism, but Polish Catholicism not as such. We will not focus just on the particularities of Polish clergy hierarchy or Polish religiosity, which will be very interesting, of course. And already in our class, we many times made references to how different is Polish Catholicism in comparison, for example, to American one or to Latin American, etc., etc. But today, instead of looking at or to focus our attention on Polish Catholicism, I would like to make a kind of experiment, intellectual experiment, and to try to imagine if it will be possible to transfer some ideas from American Catholicism, which is, of course, very different from Polish and also very complicated, complex, and not having many faces. But I would like to focus your attention on two examples, namely on the attitude toward some of American Catholics toward the Holocaust and its own heritage of certain complicity with the Holocaust, and I sent to your platform my review with sorry, but I don't have time to translate it in a very careful way. So it's a Google translation with some modifications of this book, which I would like to speak to you more extensively in the minute. And the second example is an possible change of the attitudes of Polish Catholics toward LGBT communities or toward gay people or homosexuals, generally speaking. We already mentioned this topic last week when we spoke about Pope Francis and his not clear attitude toward this reality. So today I would like to draw your attention to one Catholic who is very active in this field. His name is James Martin, and he wrote extensively on the topic. He's very active, outspoken, present in social media, really a kind of celebrity in this case. And he even was chosen by Pope Francis as a close collaborator exactly in regard to the attitude of the official Catholic Church toward LGBT communities. So it will be these two factors, and perhaps in class, please read these two pieces. One will be my review of Bernauer's book, and the second an essay which was delivered as a lecture in 2016 in Baltimore by James Martin, and we will see in class how and what elements could we adopt to our Polish context. So, my point number one. The attitude, the possible attitude of the Catholic Church toward the Holocaust, toward the annihilation of European Jews. Of course, the topic is very large and complex, and the real library of books were written. to this topic, and many historians, theologians, Jews and Christians wrote about it. So, just to be aware that the book by Bernauer, which I reviewed, is just one small element of this large debate in this field. But I think because it is very peculiar and specific, sometimes to focus our attention on very specific topic helps to understand better the more complex reality. So the title of the book is already interesting. Was reviewed already in many academic journals, also in social media, draw attention of many readers from both sides, so to say, interested in the topic from Christian side, from Jewish side, but also from not religious people. So the title is Jesuit Kaddish. Jesuit Kaddish. Kaddish, perhaps you are familiar with this word, is the Jewish prayer for death people. So it's a kind of intriguing. Why Jesuit Kaddish? In a few minutes, it will be clear why this title. Jesuit, Jews, and the Holocaust, Remembrance. Uh, Jesuits Kaddish, Jesuits, Jews, and the Holocaust. Um, and already, what is important here, there are all elements of the title: Jesuits, Jews, and the Holocaust. And what the Bernauer is writing about, that Jesuits contributed to the development and spreading of anti-Semitism in the Catholic Church, mainly in Europe, but also in the United States. So it's a kind of uh, confessing his own, or better, more precisely, sins of his institution. And this is very important, I think, that you start to write on the dark sides of your history, admitting that not everything was light, not everything was correct. So, confessing your sins is very important. And also, Jews are seen not as an abstract entity, but concrete Jews who were converted by Jesuits into Christianity, or were forbidden. If someone converted to Christianity and wanted to become a Jesuit, there was some regulation which forbidden this. And he said it's also legal regulations which demonstrated how deeply anti-Semitism was embodied in the Jesuits' order. And the second, the third, the last element is exactly the Holocaust. So how the Jesuits were dealing with the Holocaust. And in my review, I focus on this last element because for an American Jesuit, we can say, well, they were far, they were not involved immediately in the Holocaust. But in the Polish case, you have a lot of Jesuits who were committed to save Jews. And I think this is also interesting. So it is another side of the same coin. On the one hand, you demonstrated, you show how Jesuits were helping in spreading anti-Semitism, hostile attitudes toward Jews, and on the other hand, in the time of difficulties, in the time of annihilation, there were some who were committed, who even paid the highest price, who were killed because of of saving Jews. And I think this is very interesting. And why this Kaddish, Jesuit Kaddish? He started his book from telling the story of one Polish Jesuit, Stanisław Musiał, who was very much involved in overcoming anti-Semitism in Polish church, but he was not very successful. Many people were against him. Many people wrote hostile articles against him, etc., etc. So Bernauer also told this story, and I hope that we can discuss in our class how far Polish Catholicism could follow the similar path. So confessing sins, dealing honestly with the past, and at the same time recognizing that we have something positive to contribute to reconciliation between these two groups. So I thought that this could be a good lesson that we can learn from American Jesuits in this case. And the second, perhaps more intense experience today is the question of how Catholic Church today is shaping the hostile attitudes toward almost entire society in Poland, toward gay people, toward homosexuals, or toward LGBT groups. And I think here is really very helpful what Jim Martin is doing. And one of the texts which I also put on the platform is the interview which I had occasion to do with him, with my colleague Artur Novak. We asked him several questions connected with Margot's story, with the real acts of hostility toward LGBT groups. And he gave a very interesting answers. This interview was never published in English, only in Polish translation. So I think that for you, it will be interesting to see how an American Jesuit is seeing us from outside. But not only because for him it's of course not the main activities or the main interest how the Polish Catholics behave toward gay people or LGBT communities. More important for our class, and I hope for all your reflection is, so please read this article and see if some of the elements which you can see there could be transferred to our Polish debates. He also is not hiding that some formulations in Catholic catechism are definitely hostile toward gay people, but he's focusing on the positive side. So, what it means to be respectful, what it means to welcome the other. So you see how positive message is behind this essay by Jim Martin, and also is only, of course, the first step into a more deep discussion or reflection on the topic. And the occasion to do this will be to read his book, because he wrote also a book with a very long, very interesting title, which I will read: Building a Bridge: How the Catholic Church and the LGBT community Can Enter into a Relationship of Respect, Compassion, and Sensitivity. And this book was already translated in many languages and was welcomed by Catholic hierarchy, also in America, but also in Italy. And the author and editor is also hoping that also Polish audience will be interested to read it, to translate it into Polish, and I hope it will be reality soon or later. But it is important also to include this new reflection of the Catholic Church, who is really overcoming this old hostile attitude toward gay people, toward LGBT communities, etc., etc. So I hope this my few reflection of introduction will help you to discuss in class, to have a good and vivid exchange of ideas as usually, and we will see if at all it is possible to think about Polish Catholicism as a post-secular Catholicism. It means welcoming pluralism, welcoming people with other worldviews, etc., etc.